Assalamu alaikum, guys. Welcome to episode 50 of Freshly Grounded. Sam, we made it to our 50th episode.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Guys, episode 50, we were joined with the brothers from the ICAHT clinic. The ICAHT clinic is a clinic based now all over the UK, but mainly in Leicester, where the brothers do chiropractic. I don't know what their plural is. Hijama, movement, nutrition, wellness, and a bunch of other stuff, which is all explained in the podcast. We're joined with Dr Rizwan, who is the founder of ICAHT. We're also back with Bouaziz, who is in episode 18, I believe, from Bristol. It's a very, very it's an episode that's packed with a lot of juice and a lot of knowledge, especially if you're interested in going down a path of a medical path or going down a path of hijama. This is an episode that you are really going to be interested in, because it really goes into depths of hijama and the course that these guys do. So do give it a listen. Also, guys, this episode is brought to you by 59. So that's 50_NINE. That's 59 on Stanhope Road, 59 Cafe Wellness Juice Bar. What kind of stuff can you get at 59, Sam?
Salads, sandwiches, juices, coffees, and a whole lot more.
And everything's fresh and everything's wellness.
Yes.
Head over to 59. Type in quote Freshly Grounded and you get £1 off your cart when you go there with your cart.
Your
physical cart.
Don't go near the cart.
Don't go near the cart.
Whatever you do.
Also, watch by izaha.com at izaha.com. Type Arabic style cats. I'm a mess today, to the truth. Type in the code word Freshly Grounded, get 20% off. And lastly, brought to you by Flavor, flavr.co. That's flavor.co for your one-stop shop from branding, marketing, social media, content creation, and so that's flavr.co. And guys, we're also putting out a video on my YouTube channel, but that will go into an outro as well. So without any further ado, guys, this is episode 50. Enjoy. And welcome to Freshly Grounded, the brand new podcast by best friends Faisu and Sam.
Huh?
I said welcome to Freshly Grounded.
After that bit.
The brand new podcast.
And after that bit?
But best friends, Faisu and Sam.
Really?
Okay, assalamu alaikum, guys. We are rolling and we are live. I'm so excited for this episode. This is episode number 50. Subhanallah. Sam, can you first of all believe that we're 50 episodes in?
Like, hard to believe. That's many episodes.
Because we remember how, I know we mention this every now and again, but this Freshly Grounded started as a trial for 2 weeks. I think you were like, let's trial it for a few weeks and see how it goes. And then now, alhamdulillah, over 1 year in, we're still going. Alhamdulillah, we're on our 50th episode and we're just about to hit 500,000 downloads and streams.
SubhanAllah, yeah, it's good.
SubhanAllah, alhamdulillah.
It's good.
You never thunk it. Are you struggling with your mic setup?
That's fine.
Yeah?
Just getting comfortable.
Guys, but even more so, the thing that I'm more excited about is that alhamdulillah, we are blessed with, for the first time ever, 2 guests. We are blessed with Brother Bouaziz, who you guys saw when we went to visit him in Bristol, and also Dr Solomon. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yeah. Rizwan, but we have to. It's Dr Solomon. He's being humble. So we're here with Rizwan and Bouaziz. Assalamu alaikum, guys.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you guys? You okay?
Alhamdulillah, really good. Very, very blessed to be here, and just really grateful that you've invited us down to do this.
Bro,
first of all.
Well, yeah, no problem. How was your journey down? Because you came from Leicester, right?
Yeah, we've come from Leicester. Yeah, so we've alhamdulillah, Mohammed's a veteran on the tube.
Yeah.
So I'm just following him around and just doing the thing. He's Did
you come down to London a lot?
We come in and out. Do
Okay.
what we need to do and get out. Don't really. I prefer the calm, peace and quiet, a bit more relaxed.
Of Leicester?
Well, I'm from Wales originally, so I'm from Cardiff.
No, I studied in Cardiff.
Okay, alhamdulillah, yeah.
Let's talk about Cardiff.
There you go.
I could talk for days. We're gonna have to bring the next phase back, so I can have just like a 2-hour in-depth conversation.
Bro, so you know what I'm talking about.
So whereabouts in Cardiff?
Grangetown or G-Town.
Yeah, Grangetown. Okay, so I obviously, because I was studying at Cardiff Uni, I lived in Cathays, yeah. I live in Cathays.
Could have guessed.
And what was your local mosque? Or where did you go to the most?
Masjid Abu Bakr was local masjid.
Okay, I'm
in
not sure about that
Grahamstown. But all the masjids, alhamdulillah, we've got a very good community in Cardiff, with good cohesion, good links with all the masjids.
Bro, the brotherhood in Cardiff, I love
So when
it.
were you in Cardiff?
All right, so I was studying there for 3 years, and I started, I think, in 2015. So I would have I finished in 2015, I think.
Okay.
So I've been out of uni now for like about 3 years, so 2-3 years. So yeah, man, bro, I love Cardiff. In fact, when I came back, I was like adamant that I wanted to eventually move to Cardiff. House prices, the Muslim community, everything. And so I remember when I was having meetings with my wife to be at that time to get married, obviously.
Meetings.
Yeah, meetings. And bro, I was saying to her, like, how do you feel about moving to Cardiff? She's like, I'm completely against it. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, this might be a big issue. But alhamdulillah, now that because back then I had just come back from Cardiff, so I was like on a high. So now I'm like, now I'm set back in London. I love London, man. I'm a London boy.
I'll say the same for Leicester. When I moved to Leicester, initially I was like, you know what, I miss the peace and quiet. This is too hustle bustle and everything else. But Leicester's a lot busier than Cardiff, and there's a lot happening there as well. So in terms of work, in terms of progress, networking, all this other stuff, alhamdulillah, you know, it's very, and the community there is also, mashallah, very blessed.
Why did you choose to go to Leicester?
Alhamdulillah, when I first started out, when I was studying, I actually got invited by a brother in Leicester who contacted me. Back then, this was, we're talking over 10 years ago. I was practicing hijama and I was incorporating it within my practice and so forth. And at that time, hijama wasn't what it is now. Literally, you know, you could count on your hands how many people were doing it, and those who were doing it, many weren't doing it kind of publicly. Everyone was quite shy, hush back at the masjid type thing. But at that time, I was kind of, you know, quite open about my practice and what I'm doing and so forth. And a brother in Leicester, Brother Shuaib, his name is, he contacted me and he said, look, are you willing to come down if I can arrange, you know, a certain number of patients and make it worth your while and so forth. So at that time I was like, okay, fair enough. Because to be honest, back then I had to convince patients to try it. You know, I had to say, look, you know, you're not going to die from it. It's going to fine, you know, because really there wasn't that kind of awareness. People really didn't know what it was. So when he invited me, I started off, saw the first 10 or so patients, and obviously as it goes from there, I had to have follow-ups from them. So I arranged the next month and the next month and the next month, and that kind of snowballed to the extent where I couldn't manage the number of patients we were dealing with. Eventually I employed a doctor, a medical doctor from who's Egyptian, Dr Karim, and he took over the practice full time. So kind of, it's a bit of a long-winded story, but I came back to Cardiff, set up my practices and stuff, and eventually Dr. Karim had to leave.
And that was 10 years ago?
10 years ago when we first started, initially started, yeah. So over, you know, that line is kind of progressed over the years.
Yeah.
But yeah, that led up to kind of almost 4 years ago now, yeah, where Dr. Karim had to go back to working in the hospitals and stuff. He had too much of a gap in his medical career. That he wanted to get back into the hospitals. So he had to leave. I had 2 practices in Cardiff where I already had people working with me and for me there. So it was a bit of a...
Do you still have those?
Yeah, we still have the clinic in Cardiff, yeah, alhamdulillah.
So you've seen a big change 10 years ago to what it is now in the industry with what you do?
Yeah, I think definitely in terms of the awareness, huge. And alhamdulillah, you know, the awareness is really, alhamdulillah, we've had a vision right from that time. You know, it's funny, and I hope Brother Shuaib will listen to this because it'll remind him that when he first met me, we made mashura. Actually, it was quite funny because I was kind of a new graduate, quite young, and he's quite, you know, he's, I don't want to say he's elderly, he's more elder than myself. And when I went and met him, you know, he's a big beard, mashallah, thobe and everything. And I met with another brother, and when we introduced, he actually thought that the other guy who was with me, who was just someone who was accompanying me, was myself, because he thought, you know, Dr. Rizwan, you know, in the term and so forth. Yeah. And he was like, you know, I'm expecting some old, you know, geezer basically.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case. So yeah, it just started like that really, and just kind of snowballed from there, alhamdulillah.
So what, are you a medical doctor or a doctor as in you've done a PhD or what?
I'm a doctor of chiropractic medicine.
Right,
so
okay.
In the same standing, our training is pretty much the same as what you study in medicine.
Fine.
Minus the pharmacology plus a more holistic kind of approach
Okay.
to health, and obviously taking natural means to treat.
So literally the perfect thing to study for what you do.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I'm very, very blessed to have been guided. My mother has a background in holistic medicine and so forth. She studied in acupuncture. She used to run her own clinics prior to even the kind of formation of the chiropractic profession. So I was kind of inspired by her a lot, alhamdulillah. And then, I went on to then study, initially thinking, I'm going to go and study medicine. When I was actually in high school, we had a visit from a homeopath who kind of gave a completely different perspective to me on the whole medical system. She came down and kind of literally just kind of sweep the rug from under my feet in sense of the understanding of medical science, and she talked about biases, she talked about the pharmaceutical kind of industries and all this kind of stuff, and it just kind of slapped me in the face at that time, and it was like, wow, you need to really rethink what you're doing. So that's what I'm very much about, is kind of talking about what our fundamental beliefs are, and making sure that what we do in life, and it doesn't just go for medical practice or anything, everything in life is aligned with your fundamental beliefs and your principles, and your philosophy. And I'm very much about that, and everything we do is really kind of founded upon that. And that's really kind of the message we're trying to instill with all of our patients, people that we interact with on social media, in so many ways.
Interesting. So how did you two meet? How last time I saw you, well, obviously last time we did Freshly Grounded, we were in your coffee shop in Bristol, and obviously life has changed for you probably quite dramatically since then. Yeah. So what's the story? What are you doing now?
So at the moment I'm working as a naturopathic practitioner alongside Dr Rizwan in his clinic in Leicester.
What's the name, for the benefit of people, what's the name of this clinic, and what does the clinic do?
It's the Centre of Integrative Medicine in Leicester. It's the ICAHT clinic, so the Institute of Clinically Applied Hijama Therapy. And
am I right in saying that that's quite a well-known clinic? Because I had actually heard of ICAHT probably before I'd heard of yourselves, which is an amazing place to get to, and if you like, you'd love to get to the point where like your brand is known, and not necessarily like it's known because you've had to tell people. So am I right in saying that's quite well known?
ICAHT is, it's an institute. It's,
right.
Obviously, probably Dr. Rizwan will be more qualified to kind of elaborate on ICAHT. But from my context, when we met, and obviously I have a health background and a nutrition kind of background and a passion for health and well-being. And even though when we met, I was kind of in the middle of kind of working or running a coffee shop, I was still fundamentally trying to live that kind of lifestyle behind that kind of job, which at the time was necessary for me at the right kind of time of my life. So even though kind of I ran my own business in nutrition a few years before that, and we discussed last time about that kind of spiritual journey and the change and evolution of my philosophy as somebody who wanted to be a kind of a medical doctor, and the same as Dr. Rizwan just said, I went into university wanting to be a medical doctor, had my own experiences at university in my first year, realised I didn't want to be a medical doctor, understood the kind of, the pharmaceutical industry and the whole kind of politics behind everything, and it's, so we're not going to touch upon that.
You both mentioned that briefly in a nutshell. Yeah. In a nutshell, so not in a deep one.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? It's almost like you've been seeing the light. Really, what's good with.
So basically, what I believe is, I've met Dr. Rizwan at a time where our philosophies clearly kind of have engaged each other on that profound level, where we want to reach a level of promoting health and well-being and wellness on a physical level, on a spiritual level, on a psychological level, understanding our fundamental philosophy in the Sunnah and the Quran. So, even though I have a different background where I came from nutrition and fitness, Dr. Rizwan more from the chiropractic side and other means, I've started working with him now with that fundamental foundation of we want to kind of spread a right model of well-being and wellness to the community and to the world, inshallah. So, and that's why I'm at ICAHT now.
Yeah.
I'm a student of the Clinically Applied Hijama Therapy course, so I'm training to be a kind of a hijama practitioner, where we cover elements of physiology and we touch upon philosophy and stuff. But at the same time, I am practicing as a nutritionist there at the clinic, so I offer nutrition services and other new services like movement-based stuff, like the training stuff, which we kind of first saw a glimpse of when I was here last time when I used to train in the park and run around.
You're still doing that.
Yeah.
I'm still seeing that on your Instagram. It's very inspiring.
The outdoors, alhamdulillah, the outdoors training has dropped down a bit now because of the weather and the cold and stuff. And because alhamdulillah, I have a studio now where I do my training. So I've got a private studio.
That's in the clinic?
It's in the clinic, yeah. So I've come into the clinic and there was kind of a space there which was wasn't being used, but it's a big space. We've transformed that now into a studio where we do movement training.
Looks fresh. Has that recently been done?
Yeah, about
or white
2-3 months ago.
It looks really nice.
Yeah, and then
when you say we do movement training, who is it? Just you?
It's just myself at the moment.
Alhamdulillah.
But obviously we're looking to bring kind of skilled practitioners in movement and jiu-jitsu and martial arts that can come and offer the services there as well, which we're actively trying to find. But what I love most there is the performance kitchen.
Yeah, is that the kitchen where you do all your food preparation?
Yeah.
Is that right next to
the studio? It's on the same floor.
I need to come and visit, man.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
it looks like somewhere I want to be, to be honest, bro.
Yeah.
So
it's like a 59.
Yeah,
without the coffee machine.
Yeah.
But we've got the juicer there, alhamdulillah. We're preparing food for my patients and clients, etc.
And how's that going with like preparing food?
Alhamdulillah, yeah. It's someday I feel blessed because I remember a few years back when I kind of realized and decided I wanted to be in health and nutrition. That was the avenue into this platform. Now obviously I'm kind of learning things like hydrotherapy, hijama and stuff. But I said I'd love to have a coffee shop downstairs and then a private clinic kind of institute upstairs where I'm seeing clients and giving them nutrition advice. And subhanallah, at the moment right now where we stand, that is a reality for me because we have a clinic downstairs where we're seeing patients and treating patients for health and disease.
So that's the bottom floor.
Bottom of the ICAHT Institute, yeah. And then upstairs we have the performance kitchen where we're actively making whole food and promoting the nutrition philosophy. We have the studio as well for movement. Wow. So we take our clients, our patients through a journey when they come into the clinic. Yeah. They might start with an issue. They come with a lower back pain. Yeah. But we don't just want to treat pain. We want to kind of make sure they walk out having understood or engaged the philosophy that they want to live their lives by. So some of them become nutrition patients, some of them become movement patients, and we try and make them aware and conscious of not just getting rid of pain, but optimizing health as well.
And spiritually as well. How do you cover that? Because obviously it's a place of general, like how I describe you. If I described you as someone who knows how to make themselves feel good, on the sense of in a physical way. Knowing what food to have, how to treat themselves, how spiritually, how to feel good in a whole package. How do you cover that spiritually with the clinic as well? Does that come in? Does it come in? That comes in as well.
I'll just pick up from this. Yeah, definitely. And I just kind of want to a little bit go back on something kind of we were saying earlier. I don't want to give the wrong message because I was saying that I wasn't really I wasn't buying into the kind of whole studying medicine and going down that route. Yeah. And obviously Muhammad said that he had kind of a different change of heart in what his direction was. I don't want to send the wrong message out in the sense that we're against medicine. No, we have medical doctors that work with us. Yeah. Dr. Kareem, as I mentioned, he's medically qualified and he's gone through that establishment and so forth. So we don't have a problem with medicine. As such, but it wasn't a career that I wanted to kind of take down, and that goes completely in line with what you're asking now. That spiritual element. Yeah. Now you see, if I was to have studied down that line, and then I had a patient, let's say for example I became a GP, or let's say for example I was working in a particular practice. I couldn't explore that avenue. Yeah. I know that avenue is a very big part of people's health. Yeah. And I also know that the research tells me that too. Yeah. And the science and all, regardless of your religion, your spiritual kind of and your religious beliefs and so forth have a big impact on your health, your mindset and so forth. So this is where kind of what we do. By working in complementary medicine and working in the field that we do, it gives us the blank canvas to say, okay, well, we're going to do this the way we want, and we're not restrained. But number two as well, it allows us to apply that philosophy where we get to integrate all of these things in. Yeah. So where you're saying kind of the spiritual element, how do we incorporate that? That is a big part of what we do. Our philosophy is basically, our motto in the clinic is move well, eat well, think well, live well. Okay, so a simple equation. Put all of those three together and we address all of those. Mm-hmm. So even, some people might say, okay, you're a chiropractor, you crack bones. which is what some people may perceive as, what chiropractic is. But, what we say is that, look, we're not bound by the title. Just because I'm a chiropractor doesn't mean that I do that. What my objective is, what my niyyah is, regardless of what discipline I went down, whether I went down the medical route or whether I studied chiropractic medicine, whether I studied a PhD. We've got Dr. Nuruddin Hassan. He's a PhD doctor. He works with us. We've got, Dr. Kareem, as I mentioned, a medical doctor. He works with us. Myself, chiropractic doctor. Muhammad, nutritionist. And you see, even though we come from all these different disciplines, our philosophy is one and the same. Is that, we understand things from how the philosophy is in line. What we do is in line with our Islamic philosophy as well, which is a very, very important thing. So what we practice is all the same. How we've studied is different. So in order for that to happen, our philosophy and our belief system has to be solid and has to be kind of in the right way.
Yeah, aligns with the Quran and Sunnah.
Exactly, in line with the Quran and Sunnah. And what I believe is that there are certain elements, and kind of we teach this, there are certain elements in the medical kind of doctrine and the kind of what we're taught as the foundations, which are actually contrary to the Quran and Sunnah.
Right.
So in order for me to practice and be in line with my philosophy, for me as a personal choice, not for everyone, I can't be practicing what someone would class as conventional medicine or drug and surgery based treatment.
Because you said you met someone who basically enlightened you on what's really going on with the pharmaceutical industry, etc. Would you say that you didn't want to go down that road because it's almost, you just don't agree with the 100% of what is? And I'm not stating GPs. I've recently had some recent 3 different meetings with doctors, and so it's very, very fresh. And I've been keeping contact with Bouaziz about, I've just had a small infection on my head, and how I've been dealt with. Not like I've been dealt with badly, but just the lack of knowledge and the things I've been prescribed have been actually not helped me. Have actually gone against what issue with it. Do you feel like, I'm not stating GPs at all, but you have to stay in line with something, and you can't bring spirituality into that at all, and it's very much prescription.
I'll give you an example. Dr. Kareem, he left our practice, so he said, look, I'm going to move on. We, alhamdulillah, still in close contact with him. He's really, alhamdulillah, he went back to work in the hospitals. Now, he went back to work in the hospitals, and obviously, I think we do need to differentiate between medical philosophy and medical teachings and science and where it comes from, and also the NHS and the medical practices, because that's different.
Right.
Okay, so what you might have experienced may have just been the failings of, for example, the system.
Yeah.
Okay. And I believe that, as people who, and I know many medical doctors who are solid in their philosophy and they're grounded in the same way as we are, and having the same belief systems and understanding. But when they try and apply that in the medical system, for example, Dr. Kareem, he went and he was working orthopedics. So in that situation, not only was he not happy because he was managing more patients than he was capable of dealing with, number one, and that's the system. That's not the medical. That's not the medical kind of doctrine. That's not how it should be. And in addition to that, he was, he wasn't trained appropriately in what he was doing. Number one, so he wasn't happy and he wasn't content because he didn't feel like he was fulfilling his purpose in life. Which, for example, my niyyah and most of ours, and pretty much everyone who's in healthcare, is to help people and enrich their lives through betterment of health and so forth. So his situation was such where he was in that situation, and number one, he didn't feel contented because he didn't feel he was doing his job. Basically, that's not what he trained to do. Number one, because he felt like he was probably risking more people's lives than he was benefiting. And obviously, he said to me this on a kind of personal note, but also he recommended to one patient after they had surgery to try and reduce down processed foods and have foods which are less kind of inflammatory for his system. He suggested using kind of haldi or turmeric as a supplement, and he got called aside and he got told, listen, you're not a nutritionist.
SubhanAllah.
You haven't been qualified. You're not trained in that. Do not tell people this. Now, I can see different elements in different spectrums, and I do understand, yes, you need to be qualified and so forth. But for example, to tell a patient, look, you need to take time out, you need to
stay away from fatty foods and processed food.
Look, it's to state the obvious, and to be chastised in that way. And this is one reason why I can't be part of that system, because I can't be, and a lot of medical doctors are trained and they know and they understand these things and the importance of them, but their hands are tied. And you see there's a big movement in functional medicine as well, where a lot of kind of medics are kind of switching into that in a way.
Let's just strip this back a bit. and kind of go more into reverse. So, Dr. Rizwan, you have the ICAHT clinic now. So we're talking. You set this up 10 years ago, and it seems from the conversation that we've had with yourselves and what Bouaziz was just explaining, it seems as if you've brought Brother Bouaziz in, who we already are like from our first meeting with him, with yourself. But I'm speaking about you like you're not here in the room. Mine and Sam's first meeting with you, Bouaziz, was so inspiring, and we just felt like this brother, like he's upon like trying to kind of strip back all of the stuff that's in our society has ruined simplicity, and kind of you're trying to go back to the stuff that kind of has been taught in the Sunnah and all of that kind of stuff. It seems as if you also saw a kind of a similar thing in the brother, Dr. Rizwan, because it seems as if you've let him come into your clinic and be creative and not and let set us up the studio and do this, that. So how did this begin? So how did you initially find the Brother Bouaziz? How did you call him in? What was that relationship? And then did you just say, look, come into my clinic, do what you want, there's space upstairs, set up a studio if you want, I don't care, I trust you? Or was it like a relationship you guys had to build? I'd love to know kind of the deep story behind kind of you two and your relationship. Let me screen the mic over to you.
Well, alhamdulillah, this is basically when Mohammed Bouaziz messaged me actually, and he said, look, we have a lot of applications from students and various people, but Mohammed sent his I think you must have been on the ICAHT website or something and obviously come across us. I think you said you were familiar with it from before, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was. You see, I had a plan just after I was gonna the coffee shop venture was not going to be kind of a long-term venture. It was a temporary venture at the time. And I needed to get back into practicing, because before that I was obviously practicing as a sports performance nutritionist. I'd worked in several clinics, and I'd also worked for myself. Then took a gap out, went to Thailand, traveled, found myself, understood more about, kind of delved deeper into the philosophy behind healing. And so at the time where we met, I was kind of very much immersed in healing. Spiritual, and obviously healing is a physiological, it's a psychological, it's a spiritual kind of venture. It's not just something you take a pill for and you're cured. So at the time I was working on myself, still working on myself today, of course, but it was just touching upon movement and breath work and diet and learning more about those sciences. But I remember when I met you guys, I said I'm looking for teachers, and I don't study from books. Obviously there are levels to that. Obviously you can go down a normal kind of route and go to university or go through the schooling system, get your grades, get your A levels, graduate as a Bachelor of Science, for example, like I did, and then you can pursue that and become a PhD doctor, etc., etc. And there is that linear progression through the kind of education system. But then for me, at the time, I understood that I'd graduated, I'd started practicing nutrition, but there was something that was missing, and it had to be founded upon the Quran and the Sunnah. And then at the time I decided I wanted to do hijama, and because I had an experience with hijama after I came back from Thailand, didn't know what it was. So yeah, after I came back from my trip in Thailand, I had hijama from a brother in London, brother Yusuf Noden, beautiful conversation. And I realized at that time when I was treated hijama, I just went for Sunnah, because I heard it was good, and as soon as I heard it was good, it was Sunnah, that was default. And we had a really deep conversation, and I remember at that time I was lost in terms of my direction, where I wanted to go and take my studies and my life in general. And I said, I want to be in hijama, I want to do hijama. So from my hijama experience, I realized how powerful it was as a treatment, as a natural treatment on the physical and the spiritual side. So from then on, subconsciously, I knew I needed to be in hijama. And he was from Morocco. He was English revert. And he studied hijama in Morocco. So from then I decided I'm going to go to Morocco. I'm going to learn hijama. But let me see what there is in England. So straight away I started to look at courses for hijama, and just to try and understand that kind of industry of cupping and the laws behind it and the practices, etc. behind it. And I came across loads of short courses and loads of people offering 1-day courses, 2-day courses. There were a few clinics dotted around. But then I came across ICAHT. And as soon as I came across ICAHT, and this is why I'm at ICAHT, and this is why I represent ICAHT, alhamdulillah, is because when I came across ICAHT, I realized straight away the level of hijama training they were offering. But at the time, financially, I couldn't afford the course. So I just put it aside. And I said, it'll probably be easier for me to go to Morocco. I need some sunshine. Anyway, I'm going to go to the mountains of Morocco, very kind of Bedouin-esque lifestyle, and just learn hijama from a teacher there. Because I wanted to learn it from a teacher and kind of extract from the wisdom that was probably passed down through generations of practice. And then, after we all met, freshly grounded, etc., I contacted Dr Rizwan. I started following him on Instagram. And I knew if I was going to learn hijama, I'd either go to Morocco or I would do it with ICAHT. And Morocco sounded great because it allowed me freedom to I'm a free soul, I like to travel. And so for me, it seemed like a better option. But I saw Dr Rizwan put a post up. They were looking for there was just a vacancy open. And I didn't know much about it. But when I saw that, I said, that's me. That's it. I'm there, and that's going to be me, and I'm going to get that. I don't know what it was, but I had a feeling about it. So I wrote him a letter explaining who I was, what I did. And at the time, I was still working in the coffee shop. But obviously, I needed to get out, and that was my way out. And I knew that was my way out. And for some reason, some divine feeling, I knew something was going to work out with ICAHT. Because it had to be. Because I couldn't pay for it. And I had to find a way to make it work and study, because I understood that the level of education. And then I saw Dr Rizwan, mashallah, his level of practice, and he'd been on the BBC and stuff like that. So I thought, this is my guy, And then after I, sent him the letter, we met a few times and had some deep conversations about health and philosophy and my vision in life. And then I started work. I kind of moved up to Leicester, quit my job, and which was a kind of a stupid thing to do at the time, according to my family and stuff like that. But quit the job. How long ago
was that now?
That was September.
September, yeah.
Yeah.
So you sent a letter to Dr Rizwan, you end up having a chat, and you was like, that's it, I'm moving.
It's interesting hearing from the other way around, because I've never actually heard this story. You know what I mean? So I'm listening.
So what's your take on it? What's your take on it? How did it give you?
Well, alhamdulillah, obviously it's interesting hearing, how he came across it and so forth. And like I said, we get a lot of applications. We have students and from all over the place, from all over the world, and they apply, and obviously they want to study with us. Obviously what we do is kind of more from a scientific, knowledge-based kind of perspective, and there's a kind of different approach to it. So in terms of the value of what we offer, we bring in lecturers and doctors from who teach at universities to teach the subjects. It's not just Muhammad who knows a bit about hijama. It's it's looking at it and analyzing it from a structured way. So obviously in terms of costings, as Muhammad said, there's a reflection of the value of what you receive, and obviously we can go into that a little bit more. But in terms of his letter, he sent a message, and to be honest, we get a lot of them. I want to study your course, but I want to do it for free, and we get a lot of these emails. And unfortunately, because of the we have a 3-story facility, we have a dedicated teaching center. We take seriously what we do, so it's not always feasible to have scholarships and so forth. But Mohammed actually provided quite a detailed letter, an email rather, and he put a link to his freshly grounded video. So so to be honest, I was like, okay, you just scan through, and I thought, look, rather than let me just see this link, let me just see what it is before I even finished reading. So I was like, okay. And what I saw in him is that I saw that this guy has got an understanding. He's got the foundation of philosophy. He might not have the skills, and he might not have the know-how yet, but he's got the foundational philosophy. And you see, this has come just after a time where I had, and I'll openly say it because I've discussed with him himself anyway, I had a chiropractor that worked for me. And he had the skills. He'd studied, 5 years, and he'd, put the graft in, and he had all the skills, but he didn't have the philosophy. He truly didn't. He didn't have that philosophy. He was working for me in my clinic in Cardiff. Smoking, doing all this, and I was like, look, these things are gonna have to stop. It's like being a imam who drinks.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying...
You have to be able to practice what you preach,
Exactly,
essentially,
need
if
to
you're in that
practice
line
what
of
you
work.
preach. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I'm not chastising all imams who've had alcohol issues or whatever it is, but do you know what I mean?
No, of
When
course,
I'm-
but if you're advising
Exactly.
patients, it's very hard to...
You see, I believe there has to be integrity.
Right.
You have to have, congruence between your foundational philosophy and your practice. And what I could see in Muhammad is that he had that philosophy and he had a strong philosophy, but where life was taking him, it wasn't allowing him to apply that. So I actually brought him in and we had a discussion. I said, Muhammad, tell me what your ideal job role, tell me what you would love to do. He said, you know what, I love cooking. And I love to create food, and it's my passion. I also love coffee, and I know he's on a detox at the moment, so this is a hard time for him.
Really? You haven't had a coffee yet?
13 days, man.
No coffee in 13 days?
Yeah, I'm doing a kidney cleanse at the moment, so taking some herbs and stuff. So,
SubhanAllah.
yeah.
So, he told me about his nutrition. He said, I've studied in nutrition. I'm passionate about nutrition, but I love food. I love to cook and so forth. And obviously, he's into his movement and all this kind of stuff. And in our clinic, subhanAllah, prior to that, we were already in the process of saying, okay, upstairs we need to change it into a rehab space. We were looking to kind of create a space where we can have some functional movement, because I believe in the transition, we don't just deal with patients who are in pain and send them away after giving them treatments. We want to get them functional.
Right.
So it's not about, like as Muhammad said, we don't treat pain. We're about optimization of health and function. Why do you want your health? You want your health so you can pick your kids up, so you can go for a jog, you can do this, you can do the things you enjoy in life. If we're just chasing pain and you've still got that dysfunction, you're still overweight, you're still doing all the things which have led to your problem in the first place, and we send you back in there without addressing the root cause of the problem, you're going to end up, it's a great model. A lot of chiropractors work on this model. They don't help you fully understand what you're doing, and not just chiropractors, osteopaths, physios, whatever it is. They just help you fix your pain, and even GPs on that matter. You just have your pain sorted. Okay, as far as you're concerned, I'm sorted. You go away, and whatever caused that pain hasn't gone away. In the sense, your lifestyle, your habits. For me, it's like you're driving a car and the light starts flashing. There's an engine problem, and you just smash the light and say, okay, problem sorted. Let's keep driving. You're not sorting out the cause of the problem. But anyway, going back to what we were saying, he had that philosophy. I could see that, Muhammad had that philosophy with the chiropractor I had experience with, and even with myself. It's been 10 years. I'll just correct you. ICAHT hasn't been running for 10 years. Okay. I've been, openly practicing hijama for 10 years, or officially in terms of the professional setup. But where we've set up ICAHT and stuff, and Muhammad's come in, he's told me about all of these things he wants to do. I've been learning through that process as well, in terms of dealing with staff, dealing with the aspects of running the organization and so forth. It's a journey. So when I came across Muhammad, I could see, he wanted to do all of these different things. And I said, well, let's make it happen. This is in line with what we want to do with our patients. We have patients who, I've studied a little bit in naturopathy as well, in terms of hydrotherapy, and, I work with nutrition, and I have nutritional management programs for my patients, but I didn't feel like I had I had the in-depth knowledge that I needed to provide my patients that. So we were looking for a nutritionist. So obviously when Muhammad contacted us, I said, look, well, we'd like you to work with us as a nutritionist. He was saying, look, I'd like to study under you. So we said, look, let's make an arrangement where you can become a student, you can study with us. And not only will you study with us, but I'm going to progress your career, I'm going to progress your development. And obviously, as since the start, we've been helping him progress, like we do with other staff members as well, help him progress and refine his skills. And really, we've just let him spread his wings and do what he really feel his core really. So and I hope that is how it is.
So he's added some new dimensions to the clinic.
Yeah. So in terms of, for example, with my practice in Cardiff, I used to operate out of the International Sports Village. So we have people who are kind of performance in swimming and various things. And I used to deal with various kind of people who are looking to improve their performance. I've worked very closely with personal trainers and things there. So I always had that kind of interaction. As I said, our philosophy, move well, think well, eat well, live well. So again, that dynamic or that element was always there. We were implementing it. As well in Leicester. Like I said, I was doing nutritional consultations and things with patients, and I was trying to manage that aspect. But obviously, it's better for me to say to someone, okay, let me send you to our nutritionist and let him have a specific consultation to deal with you specifically, which is what Mohammed started doing. And I think the exposure has given you a lot as well, because alhamdulillah, we have a very busy practice. We run a full-time clinic, and it's not just, a lot of people say, you're a hijama practitioner. It's not about hijama. What we do is about wellness. It's about afia, and it's about getting people to the level of health that they aspire to be at, and that can help them fulfill their lives more.
Hijama is part of that,
yeah.
And so is nutrition, and so is movement, and so is the chiropractic.
Yeah.
So,
and this is why we call it the Center of Integrative Medicine, because we integrate anything and everything that we need to do, including what I do is mind coaching as well. So I work with patients who are suffering with depression and anxiety, and we work on kind of helping them, again, using an Islamic perspective and an Islamic approach, address some of these issues, which are often big factors in their recovery and in their health.
Sure. So to go off of, first of all, Bouaziz, I think I speak for both Sam and I when I say it's an honor that you felt that that Freshly Grounded was powerful enough, and the episode is over, to be able to actually send it to someone to as a kind of, not a bargaining tool, what's the word I'm looking for, as a good solid representation of yourself. So that's a real honor, that in some way or another we could have been a part of your journey.
100%.
But what was it? So how was one thing I want to go into in a second is the ICAHT course itself. I want to know kind of, because it sounds a lot to me like, as an outsider, it sounds like the Menspire of health, like, because you guys do courses and you have the course setups, and people, I know you get a bunch of messages, people who also want to jump on your courses for free and stuff like that. And this is kind of like, and Menspire is like the epitome of hairdressing, barbering, when it comes, people come from all over the world to train it, like already professional hairstylists and people who own their own salons want to come down. And it sounds like the same kind of thing for ICAHT. So I want to go into ICAHT and its course in a second, but I also want to discuss the Freshly Grounded episode. Yeah. When we done that episode in Bristol, yeah. Freshly Grounded was fairly new. What was it? What episode? Do you remember what episode number it was?
18, I think.
18. Yeah. So it's fairly new, and I think Bristol was the first
episode for you that you left the studio.
Right, exactly. And also, I remember specifically that you hadn't come up with we were trying to rebrand you, weren't we? Because we were saying, Sam and I were both saying, because what was you saying? You didn't know kind of what to name to kind of have.
Because it was just my at the time I was sharing stuff on Instagram, but it wasn't kind of specifically branded towards something in the context of what it became.
Right. And Sam and I were saying, you have like a Bouaziz. What a powerful name. Like, bro, just remove everything and just call yourself Bouaziz, like on a public platform.
Yeah. Actually, from the actual podcast, when I listened to it, and I watched the YouTube video of the podcast. And number one, I think it gave me a good understanding and insight into him, more than those words could speak in that letter.
Right.
So I think for anyone looking for jobs and interviews and all that kind of stuff, doing these sorts of things and talking your mind and having that, medium to connect rather than just through kind of emails, I think is very powerful.
It's strange that, because now we get so many people emailing and direct messaging us, and now it's just a simple case of send me a video of why you want to be part of this. Because when you can see someone, how they react in front of a camera when they're actually talking, because anyone can write anything, but when you actually physically see someone, the passion in someone's voice and how they talk, do you know what I mean? It says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that's our new way forward. Send us a video.
And they say that 6% of communication is verbal, is the words. Right, so there's so much more in it. That I think that gave a good platform, and from that time, because you guys were calling him Bouaziz, I call him Bo. Now, and the funny thing is I've when you ask him, he never says his name's Bouaziz. Everyone's like, Muhammad. Everyone calls him Mo, Muhammad, whatever it is. But I've always, and it's from Freshly Grounded. So I think what you said, and this is why when you came to clinic as well, when you introduced yourself, I was thinking, hang on a sec, he's, everyone's calling Muhammad, and we've got, obviously there's a lot of Muhammads around. Bouaziz is quite original, or Bo.
Bo. Now, the reason why I shared the Freshly Grounded was because it was. We touched upon so many kind of topics, and it was kind of a summary of my journey so far, and you can't write that in a small letter or a cover letter for a job. But it's important. This is what we have to understand as practitioners or as professionals. It's important that we get the relevant training, and we understand the disciplines that we work in. But then originality and personality and journey and life experience is part of that as well. So for me, it was a given to find a way where I could say, look, like, I know what I'm talking about. I have relevant, kind of foundational learning, at a university level and stuff like that. And you don't have to go to university to be successful in life or in practice. And the ICAHT, the ICAHT philosophy is kind of, we want to educate people we want to give people opportunity. So if you haven't got a background, a health background or an education background, doesn't mean you can't help people. But if you do, it means you are more kind of profound in a level of practice you can offer. And it works both ways. So when it came to Freshly Grounded, it was a beautiful opportunity for me to speak my thoughts anyway and share my journey. And it was a given. I did not hesitate to think, it was because it was so original and so true. And it was like, you come to my backyard, I work in a coffee shop because that was my hustle right back then. But it doesn't mean I'm not trying to work on myself and my philosophy as a practitioner and things that I do in my spare time, in my own free time where I'm not trying to pay the bills. I'm working on myself and progressing myself. And so there's people out there who are trying to chase their dreams, but they're working jobs, or they say they haven't got the time. You got to make that time. And if you, for some reason, life has you down where you have to earn a living or pay your bills, if you have free time in the day, we all have the same 24 hours. You can still invest in yourself and your mindset, and you can still believe that you're going to make it and be grateful that where you are right now, there's a reason behind it. There's a divine reason behind it. And you just keep believing in and for me, self-belief has always been massive from a young age. I always believed in myself and my drive and my fight.
I think, as you said, kind of that was your side hustle at the time. I think, I work with coaching and I work with patients in various kind of ways. And I want to help them not just kind of get healthy, but achieve their life goals. Because obviously that's health is the facilitator for that, for life and to achieve all the things you want to achieve. But what I saw in Muhammad is that kind of, he was stuck in kind of often you do things, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this so I can do that. So it's not really the main cause. For example, you might be as you said, for example, you might be someone who's, just graduated, you're looking for a job. So you end up working in a coffee shop, or, I know people who say, you know what, I'm going to just sign up to a call center. I'm going to start working there just in between. And that in between ends up becoming your life. And I'm not sure. Alhamdulillah, I've got young kids, and we were not so long ago listening to the audiobook of The Alchemist. I'm sure the famous book. And obviously there's a lot of life lessons in that. And there's one of the kind of one of the kind of elements of that where he's talking about someone who always wanted to go to Mecca or whatever it was, and he started a shop or whatever it is to kind of allow himself to get the money to save up to go there. But what happened is he got so attached and he got so stuck in the rut in that job that he never ever made his goal. And I think this is something quite applicable to anyone and everyone in life, is where. And I've got younger siblings, and I've got people who I advise as well. And quite often you'll have it where you'll go into a side hustle, you'll go into a job or something you're doing on your way to somewhere else, and every year you're there, your wage is increasing, but it's not in line with what you really want to do. So you see, what happens is there's a conflict within your own heart, there's a conflict within your own soul, basically, that you're yearning to be somewhere else. So I saw that in Muhammad, and I could see that, and that's why I thought, and obviously what we discussed, it wasn't just about the kind of freshly grounded, and it wasn't just that. Obviously that was excellent because it allowed me to kind of see more than just those words that were written, and I got to see and understand more through that. And that's what kind of said to me, and I don't normally do this, but with a lot of the messages we can't reply to all of them and everything, but it's like, okay, well, let me give this a guy a shout. Let's have a chat. So actually, it was quite funny because we locked you in a room, didn't we, when you came to? No,
he wanted to, obviously, because I was in Bristol, and and you said, you know, let's Skype, and that wasn't good enough for me, man. I had to come and meet you in person.
Yeah, and that's I think again.
And then I got locked out.
Yeah, that was quite funny. That was quite a funny thing that happened.
Yeah.
But basically, you know, we had a series of kind of little mini interviews with Mohammed, and you know, I could see from him, and like I said, we had that discussion at the time. You know, I said to him, you know, where do you want to be? You know, what's your ideal job? And like I said, he was strung because he was like, you know, I love coffee, and he was like, you know, I love cooking, you know, I love movement, and I'm a nutritionist, and I want to become a hijama practitioner. I want to treat patients. So I said, so, you know, ideally you'd be, you know, so your vision is that you're going to be running a restaurant, you're going to be running a coffee shop, you're going to be, you know, doing your movement and keeping up with your own health and life, and you're going to be treating patients at the same time. And he was like, he kind of, yeah. And it was like, yeah, that's not really, yeah, oh, yeah, actually that's where I am. But to me, that was like, that's perfect. That's exactly where you want to be, and that's exactly where you should be. Because you said, you know, and I can remember you saying that to me, you said, look, I don't believe in just, you know, I believe there's more to feeding people just for them to feel good. You know, I want, you know, and to have tasty food. He said, you know, I want to be able to feed them, to heal them. Okay, and this is where in the clinic, what we, you know, what we do is we do, you know, we have patients who come in with problems. You know, we have people who have serious kind of life-limiting conditions and chronic diseases and problems. And what we do is we utilize various means to help them. And some of that is obviously nutritionally based. And obviously the packages and programs Mohammed does is where he'll even, you know, if you're in such a situation where you say, you know, I'm busy with work and this and that, and it's not practical, I can't even prepare my own foods. He'll prepare your meals for you, bespoke, exactly how you need them, based around your health needs, as well as provide, you know, the personal training and the other stuff, as well as them having treatments and stuff. So I said, look, you know, that model which you've, you know, that what you've said, it fits like a glove to what we have available. And I said, look, you know, we can train you up and we can provide you the knowledge and education you need to progress and achieve, you know, a higher level. And yeah, you know, all of that kind of sunk in and it fitted together. But what we did as well, and I think is very important for anyone who's listening from the perspective of where am I going in my life, and where is, you know, where can I get a break and how can I do this kind of thing, is that there were certain characteristics that I saw in Mohammed, and I'm going to say as an employer now, is that when, number one, he had that drive. He was like, look, I don't want to Skype you, I'm coming to see you. Okay, which is like, okay, excellent, mashallah. He's got the passion, he's got the drive, and he's willing to go out of pocket. Because you see in life, a lot of people, they want something before they get anything. You know, it's like, you know, you want to get fire from the wood before you burn it. Yeah. So it's kind of, you know, so he had that. Number one, he said, look, I'll come up, and he called the train down and he came up and, you know, he met me in person, alhamdulillah, which was good. But I also, you know, as an employer, I said, look, you know, we can't just risk giving you a job and saying, you know, here you go. You know, what we're going to do is we're going to see what you can bring. Okay, so we're going to put you on a trial, and we did that for 3 months. And he took a massive risk, you know, because I said to him, look, if you, you know, and he moved up, and I said, if you don't show me that what you're doing is valuable and that you can convert value and you can generate value and it makes an impact on the organization and the people that you deal with, then, you know, you have to understand that that's where it's going to end.
Do you, sorry to interrupt you, do you remember how you first ever got into Freshly Grounded, how this whole relationship started, just on this?
Yeah, I messaged you.
Yeah. It's interesting hearing that because, because
I remember I first met Mr. Palmer through watching one of the Roadside to Islam videos, and I was really inspired by that, and also watched Josh LaMonica's one as well, really inspiring. So I started following you on Instagram, and at the time I just got back onto Instagram, and then as I was following you, I realized you were opening a coffee shop, and it was a health-based coffee shop, and it was a juice bar, a coffee shop, and I could see your philosophy was not just selling coffee and cake, but, you know, you wanted to feed people goodness. So I messaged you, I said, look, I'm a nutritionist, this is what I do, I'm passionate about all this stuff, give me a job. I think that's what it was.
And the thing is, I mean, at that time, I had a manager, I had managers in place, and the opportunity wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then I had someone go, and as soon as I was told that this person was leaving, who was helping me run the coffee shop, in my head I was like, Bouaziz, yes. So I was like, in my head, I'd painted a huge picture of moving forward, of what I can do, what we can do with 59. I remember being so excited. I remember telling my missus, look, I've got the opportunity now. Bouaziz can come and move to St Albans, because that was our original conversation. And you giving me some advice about coffee machines, and we formed a relationship based on this, that, and the other. Yeah. And I thought yes, and I thought it was no brainer. And then as we spoke, and you were like, look, something else has come up, and you were talking about Leicester, and you were talking about this and that, and I was thinking, okay, alhamdulillah, that sounds a little bit more, I would say, deeper than what I could offer. So I saw the value in him straight away, even going to your Instagram page. You can't really judge someone generally through social media, but it was just beautifully prepared food. You were wearing beautiful pictures, like just wearing a throw, small, and you're barbecuing, and it was just like your whole brand, or whatever it was at the time, which wasn't even really a brand. It was just who you were. I really saw so much potential in just in a few images. And then when you said, look, and something else has come up, which is something I really, really would love to do, which is obviously go to Leicester and do that. Alhamdulillah, the fact that you obviously, I know you don't get to speak this time. I'm so happy that you chose that, and it's worked out. Alhamdulillah, Allah's plan is always the best. Yeah. But I'm so glad, although I would have loved you to be in my life a bit more, I'm so glad that this opportunity came up and you're doing what you're doing, because this is what you deserve, bruv. Because when I was trying to say to Faisal about, let's get this brother on, yeah, and he was like, what does he do? I said, I don't know. Tell me, what's his name? I said, look, I don't really know anything, but this guy deserves a platform. And he's like, what's he going to talk about? I said, I don't know, but let's just give this guy a platform. And alhamdulillah, we all came up with a name, and now what you're doing, bro, when
I met you in the hotel room, and I first saw Sam, and he was like massive, mashallah, really tall, mashallah, and we went into the hotel room, and I remember it was from that I realized that you guys said, look, you need to do something, and I had to reflect on that and say, like Dr Rizwan was saying as well, you can have a side hustle, or even though it's not a side hustle, it's an experience, and you develop skill sets, and you learn things, and you grow through that process. Alhamdulillah, it's beautiful. But you have to take risks in life sometimes and think, you know what, I really need to stop, and I need to pursue what I need to do, and I'm going to lose time or energy or money, whatever. But if you're so keen and desperate and passionate to be somewhere in your life, you've got to risk everything. And when I met you guys, you said, Mohammed, Bouaziz, you can do something with all this. And being on Freshly Grounded and actually speaking, at the end of it, I realized how passionate I was about health, and how much I needed it in my life, and I needed to kind of practice again, because I was out of practice. And then it was through kind of having that whole experience with you guys that day, made me reflect. It was Ramadan as well, alhamdulillah. And I was like, this is it, I have to pursue health again. It's got to be in hijama. So I was going to take a trip to Morocco and learn there. But obviously I met Rizwan, and alhamdulillah, it's beautiful. But in general, I know I spoke a lot about kind of, ego previously in the last episode, and we have to be working on that ego daily, and we have to renew our intentions daily. And the reason why I'm practicing nutrition, hijama, fitness is because I want to help people reach a level of wellness, physically, spiritually, mentally, through the resources that I have. And 10 years ago, I thought that was practicing in a hospital, but now through learning experience, I understand there are different ways of reaching it. Not to say that having surgery or going to a hospital or seeing a doctor isn't necessary sometimes. It is, and can save lives a lot of the time. But like Rizwan was saying, there is restrictions to how much you can help somebody. And in the clinic, we want to help someone as much as they can and give them as much value as we can to make sure they become an asset to their children. I work with people who have children and they're overweight, and they want to work, they want to spend time with their kids. And, and we might take that for granted at our age, and we might be running around and we're nice and fit and slim and, can run and can train here and there. We didn't have health issues. We didn't have restrictions in our movement, our mobility. But there are people 10, 15 years older, and if Allah gives his life, we're going to be there at one point in our life. If we don't start to really look and think deep about our health reality, then where are you going to be in 5 years' time? Where are you going to be in 10 years' time? Don't expect your body just to be in the same pristine condition after all this abuse you've been giving it with your lifestyle. And this is what we teach in the clinic. When patients come, when we assess them, okay, you've come here for a back problem, or you just want a sunnah hijama. But really looking at you, are you really happy where you are with your life right now? Do you think you can be in a place that's better physically, spiritually, mentally? And if so, we have the platforms to elaborate and coach people coming to the ICAHT.
Going back to your mindset, you come across like a true go-getter, and people say that life is a game of inches, and it's just that extra inch that a person does can make the world of a difference. And living your life by that mentality is also a very risky mentality to live your life by, because 9 times out of 10 the risk is not going to pay off, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like the times in your life in which you have gone that extra mile, or you've achieved something, it's because you have gone that extra inch. You, for example, sent an email to Sam where maybe there's been like 100 people who have thought, I want to email Sam, or you sent an email to Brother Rizwan, who, as you know, hundreds of people send emails to Brother Rizwan with the exact same kind of message, but you've not thought to yourself, oh, loads of people do that, so I'm not going to do it. You've thought to yourself, loads of people done it, but I'm different. How important is it to always take that risk or go that extra inch? And do you think that's a personality trait that everybody has, or something that is natural within you, or is it something that you've had to train yourself in?
I would like to second your opinion, but from answering that question myself, I think it all starts from childhood. I mean, it starts from my experiences in the household with my parents and growing up, and how you educate your children. I'm not a father. I'm not married. I don't have kids. But children, when I was a kid, my subconscious is filled with memories and experiences from a young age. And from day one, my father always taught me, you just go get it. You just got to get things done. You make a way. If there's no way, you make a way. And you gotta believe in yourself. If you think you can do that, or you can, and you've got that fighting spirit, then nothing's going to defeat you. And living kind of from where I came from, North Africa, and emigrating to this country, it all started with the belief systems that were instilled within me through childhood, through my parents. And it doesn't matter how much money you earn, what salary you have, what job you have. These are things you can give your children. You can give them the hunger and desire, and you can put fearlessness in them from a young age, because they don't know any better when they're kids that things are tough.
Right.
And we didn't have comfort or pleasures growing up, but what we did have is that the love, and the love is so powerful, and love, teaching your children, loving your children in a way that isn't kind of associated with material means is powerful. So I didn't have the materialism growing up, and maybe that was a factor of me trying to chase that break in terms of trying to make it. And we associate making it with money, but making it for me is making it through wisdom and health, and kind of Allah is the one who gives. So 100% fearlessness was instilled in me through my parents, my father, and that's where I get that from. And I'll always have respect and love for him for giving me that priceless gift of, he risked everything to bring me to this country, and he left everything that he'd ever lived for where he was. So I had to repay him, through kind of trying to be the man, and always knowing that, I'm going to prove him right one day. And so that's how it is, yeah. I'm trying to be emotional. But
but yeah, subhanAllah. I want to also go into the ICAHT course, and let's say I'm a person, for example, I know that I want to go into holistic medicine, I want to practice hijama. What does the ICAHT course offer, and also how it works? So what do you teach? Do you have different courses, for example? I'd love to know more about the ICAHT course and how a person can get involved with it if they want to.
Okay, so with the ICAHT training, if you would allow me, maybe I'll give you a little bit of background of how it came about and how we ended up, becoming an institute that teaches hijama and so forth. So in my own practice, basically, as I mentioned, when I was studying at chiropractic college, I was obviously learning about kind of chiropractic philosophy, which is very much based on kind of the body's innate ability to heal itself. And kind of, it almost has kind of, if you look into chiropractic and its philosophy, where it comes from, it almost has kind of a religious background. It has a very kind of Christian kind of origin. Okay. And the kind of founding fathers of chiropractic kind of believed that kind of it's Allah that heals you, basically, it's God that heals you, and that your body has kind of the capacity to heal itself. So, understanding that and learning that, and also then learning about hijama, I realized I came across hijama from kind of not a great experience. Basically, I saw someone who was kind of practicing it in not the best way in terms of hygiene and so forth. We've got a 3-video series that actually kind of does an introduction into hijama and all this kind of stuff, and I kind of go into that a little bit there, which maybe I'll mention later. But yeah, kind of the practice. When I first came across it, I realized that with the philosophy of chiropractic medicine, which I was taught in university, and with my understanding of hijama and what it allows us to understand about health, that they were congruent, they matched up. Whereas my understanding of it from other areas didn't really match up. So the philosophy, there was a contradiction in the philosophy. So just a basic example for that is that in Islam, the Prophet ﷺ mentions that there shifa in many things. He doesn't just say that there's shifa in drugs and surgery, for just one example. So straight up, if you're going to be a medical doctor and you say, I want to give the best to my patients, if the Prophet ﷺ said that the best of remedies is hijama and other things, how can you then not give the best of remedies? How can you not do that? So for me, there was a bit of a contradiction within that. So right from the beginning and right from the onset, I realized that there was a much deeper meaning to hijama, and I understood that through my chiropractic training and my understanding of studying different medical health philosophies, which is something which we cover in quite a lot of depth in chiropractic school. So moving on from there, alhamdulillah, as I said, I set up the clinic in Leicester, which was kind of a monthly thing, which kind of over time kind of snowballed. I was doing what I was doing in Cardiff. That also kind of got more busy. And again, I was integrating. I wasn't just a hijama practitioner any of those times. I was practicing acupuncture, chiropractic, all these different techniques. And also then I was trying to bring it and understand it from the Islamic perspective as well. So I would be advising on people how to eat according to the Sunnah. I would be giving them, because obviously I was dealing with a lot of Muslims. So I realized that if you Islamitize health advice, it's a lot more powerful. So if I say to you, look, brother, stop smoking, you're going to get lung disease, this and that, everything else, then you'll be like, yeah. And you're just like, you know what? It's my own health, I can self-sacrifice. Whereas if you say to the brother, look, brother, stop smoking, it's Ramadan tomorrow, right? And no cigarettes, right? No smoking. How many hours? I think we have like 14, 15 hours fast, even longer, depending on what timings you go by. But, you see there's power in that. And I realized that there's massive, massive power within Islamatization of health attitudes and health advice. And I realized that there was, and I did my dissertation, my final year study and my thesis was on healthcare amongst ethnic minorities. And I realized that there was a lot of things in our communities that were really appalling in terms of our health. And I realized that there was a lot of factors within our teachings and within the Sunnah that can really kind of improve that. So basically from that foundational understanding, I realized that, okay, this is a really good thing. And I realized addressing patients from this approach is really powerful. And alhamdulillah, as a result of that, we saw excellent results with our patients. I opened a clinic in Cardiff, in Bristol. I was doing a clinic in Blackburn. I was doing a clinic in Tooting, and obviously the clinic in Leicester. And I was literally there was too much work for me to do. And I realized at that point, and probably before that I can't do this alone. This is a bigger mission than just myself. So at that point alhamdulillah, I was very blessed as well. My mother, as I said, she's got a background in healthcare. She's also a nurse and so forth. And brother Nuruddin Hassan, who's the PhD doctor that I said, he was currently, at the time he was doing his MRes, he was doing a master's in research and so forth. I said to them, look, can you come on board? I need your help. I need you to help me. And I realized that I needed to train them. So I realized, okay, these are people who already have a foundation in health. Okay. They've already studied the sciences. They've already studied this stuff. But for example, for Dr. Nuruddin, he hadn't studied the clinical sciences because back then he was just he was a biomedical scientist. So he wasn't a clinical practitioner. But when I matched up the courses, I realized, hang on a sec, you've studied the same subjects that I've studied. You're just missing a few elements. So I was like, look, let me design a course which is designed for health professionals that can just help you upgrade what you need to do so that you can operate at a similar level. You'll not be a doctor, or we're not creating clinicians in effect. So initially the course was designed to help us staff our clinics. So we had a course developed and so forth, and that was it. And that was all it needed to be. And alhamdulillah, we had a few staff members which I trained, and there was a long process. It was each staff member, we took about a year to kind of get trained up, and that was when they already had a health background. Now off the back of that, I realized that very soon after, this kind of there was hijama courses popping up left, right, and center. And there was hijama training, there was hijama workshops. There was actually someone who's based in London who was doing online programs. And, you know, you could see that, you know, there was a lot of demand for it. There was a lot of people signing up. But I could see from that, you know what, this is kind of, people are really being sold short of what the reality is. Because they're getting told that, like, yeah, you've studied, but you haven't. Because you really haven't even touched the surface. Because hijama is not just a procedure. You don't just put cups on, do the cuts, and that's it. There's a lot more you need to know and understand. Hijama is a technique. It's something you can utilize, but it also has an underlying philosophy that needs to go with it, and it has to have a practice. And this goes back to kind of the question you were saying earlier when you were asking Muhammad, you know, where does it root from, that kind of willingness to just take risks? And you know, in my belief, and what I talk about a lot is, it all boils back down to philosophy, okay? Because in Muhammad's mindset, for example, if you believe if your aqeedah is solid and your belief is solid, that, you know what, Allah is in control of everything, right? So when Allah is in control of everything, and as it's mentioned in the hadith, I believe, that, you know, even if the whole world was to try and kind of destroy you, and, you know, Allah didn't want that to happen, no one could harm you. And if the whole world tried to save you and Allah wanted to destroy you, you know, no one could save you. So you see, that teaches a very, very important message, which is statistics don't matter. Our reality and our understanding and our rationale has no influence, right, in terms of, you know, the real outcome. Obviously, we have to do what we need to do, right? The hadith obviously says as well, you know, tie your camel, you know, put your trust in Allah, but first tie your camel. Okay, so in the sense, do what you need to do your dues, but, you know, it's in Allah's hands at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 people applying for something or not. If your philosophy is that, you know what, this is in Allah's hands, there's no fear, because you realize that if Allah wants it to happen, it'll happen. I don't need to have fear of anything. And if you have that tawakkul, that you'll also realize that, you know, whatever the outcome is, I'll be happy with it. So you see, it all goes down to foundational philosophy, and philosophy is built up from your values and your beliefs, and we have a system that's taught us this. So you see, what happens is, if your philosophy is not correct, then your actions will reflect that. And if your philosophy is correct, your actions will also reflect that. You see, again, I'll give you another example. If you have a child and you're teaching your child how to pray, and you're saying, come on, yalla, stand here, pray with me. Okay? You can teach them how to pray all you want. They can do those up-down movements. But the moment you're gone, there's no salah. Xbox, PlayStation, whatever it is nowadays, that's what they'll be playing. And there'll be no salah. Whereas if you teach the purpose and the philosophy behind the purpose of why you pray, the child, he'll be stood up and he'll be praying his salah long after you're gone. And that will go down generations. You see, that philosophy is really important. Now, I know I'm going on a little bit about this, but you see, I believe this is so foundationally important. If you don't have the right philosophy in terms of your medical practice, in terms of your hijama, in terms of what you're doing, ultimately what you're doing will be way off. It'll be incorrect. And you see that today. You see people practicing hijama as if it's the cure for everything. You know, come to the hijama clinic, hijama. You got this problem, hijama. You got that problem, hijama. You got depression, hijama. You know, and to the point where people, they don't understand what they're doing, and they're bleeding people, and there's people who are having really, you know, physical, you know, consequences of it. So what I realized is that I realized, you know what, there's a problem here. And that is that people are being taught they're being taught that, you know, and told that, you know, you're practicing the sunnah, you're learning the practice of hijama, and they're being given certificates, but they're being short, kind of, you know, they're getting the short end of the stick, really. And there's a lot of money flying around as well. People have spent a lot of money, and a lot of our students, they've studied here, they've studied there, they've studied online, they've studied this, they've done one-day workshops. And, you know, we really see that manifesting itself now. So if we go back to kind of that time, that's when I realized that, you know what, we need to do something about this. We can't just sit here. And alhamdulillah, I was very blessed that, you know, I'd had a number of years to develop a program, which was initially when we started, it was designed for health practitioners. So people who had already studied the foundational sciences, anatomy, physiology, and the basics. But then we realized that actually the majority of people who are coming forth and who are really passionate about hijama and want to get involved in it are people who are maybe, you know, they've got that passion and their drive, but they haven't got the foundational education. They haven't studied in it. And I realized that, of course, that makes sense, because if you've studied in medicine, if you studied in physiology, if you studied in biochemistry, all of these things, you're already off in a career. And why would you want to change career that's paying you better for something which is not? You know, which is potentially, from what you see, is, you know, so most of the people who are looking for a career and looking to do something are not those who are medically qualified. So this is where we developed. So it was in 2013 actually that we launched our first course. And we launched the course and we taught it, and we went without compromise, and we said, look, we're going to teach this course and we're going to teach it properly. So we teach anatomy, we teach physiology, we teach aspects of pathology, we teach philosophy, which is extremely important. So we have medical professionals who come and study with us, and they're like, wow, I never thought of it like that. You know, I'm here pushing drugs, okay, and I didn't really think of it like that, but you know what? This is fundamentally wrong. Why am I pushing drugs when I know there's a solution which has less risk, less cost, and is far more effective than what you're taking in terms of the drugs? And also in terms of efficacy. As a Muslim, for example, often you might be, let's say for example you're a GP, you might be prescribing drugs where there is really no solid scientific evidence that this is actually effective for what you're doing. And unless, and again, I'm very blessed because I've had someone who has a master's in research, Dr Nuruddin Hassan, he's just recently published a really breakthrough paper as well recently, alhamdulillah. And his background is research. So, we teach those. I don't teach those modules. Dr. Nuruddin teaches those aspects. So what we do is, you see, when we look at the kind of the overall situation, they say the best kind of ideas are things which are solutions to problems, right? So this is what we had. We have a problem where we now have, alhamdulillah, a big improved awareness about hijama, but we have lots of people now who are, if you teach someone how to use a spanner and they go around saying, look, I'm a qualified mechanic, and they start working on your Bentley, and I'm not sure what you drive, but they start working on your
no Bentley, I tell you that much.
Yeah, they start working on your expensive vehicles which you value a lot. You'd be a fool to say, yeah, you know what, go on and work on my car. You're going to take it to a dealership who you know what they're doing, they're qualified. But you see, when it comes to our health, that's what's happening. People are giving their bodies, which is far more, your eye is worth more than a Bentley. Come on. Your whole body, you're giving that and you're putting that, entrusting that in someone's hands. And, and we've seen, unfortunately, some of the kind of negative consequences which have come about. So this is basically where kind of the courses come from. I don't want to speak about the course myself too much because we've got a student here who studied with us and knows, who's been going through the program. And what I'll give you the outline. Our program is split up into 3 stages, and for those people who are interested in studying this and stuff, maybe I'll elaborate on it a little bit more. But I actually want to get a bit of feedback because obviously Muhammad's been studying the content, and obviously he's been in around and he's been doing the clinical internship. So part of our program is that you actually have to work in an internship. Sure. It's no good doing a Skype assessment. This is what a lot of these courses, some of these courses offer. It's no good doing a one-day workshop where you bring your friend, Aziz, and you do hijama on him and he does hijama on you and you go away with a certificate. It's not about the procedure. It's about the practitioner. We're creating, you need to become a practitioner. This isn't it's not like changing a light bulb. You can teach a monkey how to do hijama, right?
So before we go into kind of the details of the course itself, I'm intrigued on some of the kind of the basics of it. So for example, you were saying that you wanted to design a course that could be taken by medical professionals, but you're teaching them something new, or you're giving them kind of a new angle, a new perspective, right?
Initially, yeah, that's how it started. So it was a supplementary course for people who are already studied the health sciences.
But do you now have a course for example, beginners who literally?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So you have different types of courses.
Yeah. So it's still one course. Okay. Fine. So what we've done is we've refined it, and now we've covered those elements. And one of the reasons why we did that is because we've taught aspects of anatomy and physiology from a different perspective as well. So even if you are medically qualified, we've trained the whole medical faculty from King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah. They all came over and they studied with us, and these guys are professors that teach the medics. They're part of the health ministry in Saudi Arabia, right. And even the guidelines for hijama for in Saudi Arabia now have been literally word for word taken from the ICAHT protocols and now used for the ministry. And we're also working with Public Health England at the moment to help create guidelines for local councils.
So how long is each course?
So the course is quite flexible. So in all, you need to study usually around 9 months. Okay, but it depends on your your ability to learn. So previously what we used to do, and there's one scholar, I won't mention his name because he's quite a well-known kind of scholar, and he's got a very good followership, but he's consented for him to be on our website and stuff like that. But he actually changed our perspective because he came from a background where he had no health background. He'd not studied the science or anything. Alhamdulillah, he was Hafiz and he was alim and so forth, but he'd not studied any of these subjects, yet to this day he's our highest achieving student. So this helped us realize that, you know what, it's not about what you've studied, it's not about where you've come from, it's about where you're going and what you're capable of doing. So we've now kept it open, saying that, look, you study the modules, you study the content. If you're good enough to get to stage 2, then you know what, you're good enough to get to stage 2. It doesn't matter. If you're good enough to get to stage 3, then welcome in clinic. You've already now studied everything you need to know to interact with patients.
So for example, if a person wanted to come onto the course, and let's say, for example, it was like a 9-month thing, do they have to relocate in order to do so?
It's not 9 months. That's just like a...
So some people have taken 2 years to study the course. Some people have studied it in 3 months. So what we did, it used to be in-house training. So you used to have to come in, you sit into the lectures, classroom style, lecture after lecture, and people had to travel. We had people coming from Belgium, France. We've had people from Australia, from South Africa, and they literally had to, in those days, they had to come in and they had to sit in. Obviously, there was a cost of travel, accommodation, all this other stuff. Now, for 2 reasons. Number one is because obviously the cost and expenses and all that other stuff. And the other thing is also to allow that learning to be more fluid. We then video recorded all of our classes literally while they were happening. And we've now got all of the lectures, so all the theory can be studied online. The practical you still have to come in for. So the practical happens in the form of an internship. So we've divided it up now. And one of the reasons we did this is, number one, we had to adapt and move with the times. But number two is because there were so many shortcuts for people to take. And our course, as Brother Muhammad said, it seemed so difficult because it was like, look, I'd love to do that, but you know what? There's so many obstacles in the way to achieve that. So we've tried to break down those barriers by taking the course online. So we study all of the theory online. So stage 1 and stage 2. So we've got over 100 hours of video content.
Wow.
Right? So these are lectures that you study. You have to study. You can't get away from studying the human body. If you want to be a mechanic, you need to know where an engine is.
Fine.
You need to know where the tires are. You need to know where all this stuff is. So in the same way, you have to learn this stuff. It's not easy. Our course is by no means is it an easy course. It is challenging. It's mentally challenging. It's not easy. You have to really study hard. But nothing easy is worth, as they say, nothing worth having comes easy. So stage 1 and stage 2 are both online. So in that we teach anatomy of the human body. Today we are currently actually running a workshop for our students. We have students who have taken kind of an additional opt-in with the course, which is a dissection. So actually, we, as we mentioned, some of the practitioners, you said you knew one of the practitioners. We've got a few of them now who are in Guy's Hospital today, right now as it happens, and they're engaged in a workshop where they're doing dissections. They're actually looking at human specimens, obviously deceased specimens, and they're kind of opening them up and studying the anatomy and studying properly, as a health professional would. And in any medical or health discipline, you'd study to this level. So, we teach that, but also the anatomy that we teach is, I would say, on a higher par, because as chiropractors and as osteopaths and people who are involved in teaching the course, we study anatomy to, and we use it on a daily basis. So again, it's kind of applied. So alhamdulillah, it's a very, very high level.
Clinically applied anatomy.
Yeah. We've even had GPs and medics who've come and said, wow, I've studied anatomy, but I never knew it was at this level. So this stuff you can study online in your own time. So it's what we call on a flexi schedule. You can do it as quick as you want or as slow as you want, but at the end of the day, you have to pass those exams. Now, if you don't get through, or if you come to stage 3 and we can see that you're deficient in these areas, we'll send you back. So you have to know your theory before you come in. So you study that in stage 1. In stage 2, you're studying physiology and stuff as well in more detail. At the same time, you're studying hijama, the science behind it, the theories behind it, the philosophy behind it. You're studying about this holistic approach that we talked about. You're studying how the heart works, how the body works. But we teach something different that's taught in medical schools and in these sorts of things, because we teach not just about this is the organ and this is the illnesses that comes with it. We talk about health optimization, which is a different approach. You say, okay, how can I work on improving the performance of this? I'm not ill, it's not diseased, but how can we make sure that it functions better? So we even teach it from that perspective, because like I said, the objective is to improve health, because that's the foundation of philosophy, right? It's founded upon something that the Prophet ﷺ did, is prophylactic, is preventative medicine. But So it's split up into those two stages. The final stage is the only one where you physically have to attend. So in terms of your question, do you have to physically attend? Yes, you do have to physically attend when it gets to stage 3. So when it comes to stage 3, you have to complete a minimum of 50 hours internship, which means you work along with myself and our team and our staff members, and you treat real patients. So patients who are coming in, and by this time we've taught you how to do case histories, we've taught you about issues, we've taught you how to assess, we've taught you all of this stuff. So you already know all of this stuff in theory, but now I'm personally going to guide you, just as I've worked with Mohammed, and hopefully you can get some insights from him in terms of what he's learned and what he's taken from it. You learn how to manage patients. And when you do that, it's not just hijama, because obviously you see, obviously Mohammed, you're seeing me working with patients using chiropractic, using acupuncture, using obviously what we talked about, kind of even those elements when we're talking about them and asking them, questioning their philosophy. What are you really here for? Are you here because you've got a pain? Or are you here because your pain is stopping you from working and stopping you from having the full life that you really want? So, we're helping re-educate the patient's philosophy as well. So all of this is kind of packaged up in that process. So we train people who are already running hijama clinics and are already practicing and who want to up their game. We do CPD as well for people who have already trained with us. So, you're always learning, you're always progressing, and we try and facilitate that either through ourselves and where we're providing the training, or our partner organizations and institutes where we allow avenues for our students to study things which they wouldn't otherwise be able to have access to. So when you study with us, for example, you can register under the General Naturopathic Council. So you're not just a hijama practitioner, you become recognized as an associate naturopath, which again opens the doors to you to study things which you wouldn't be able to study unless it was at a postgraduate level. So this is the kind of the 3 stages of the course. And like I said, minimum of 50 hours. This is where you come in and you work with us. You can do it in drips and drabs. You don't have to come in and do it all in one go. If you did do it, like we have people who come from abroad, it takes about 2 weeks for them to finish their 50 hours. But we have one brother who comes from London every week. He comes every Saturday and he's doing his hours, one day at a time. Obviously we've had, as I said, people from abroad. We have some people who just, they'll do it in bits and bobs. It's entirely up to you. So the whole program is on flexi schedule, but we work with you on a one-to-one basis when it comes to the clinical practice. But I don't stamp any student off until I'm 100% confident. Say, I'm happy for you to go ahead and use my name as your teacher and use my institute and say, what, I've studied through this organization and I stand by this standard. So that's what it's about. And what we're about is not, we're not compromising on anything in terms of, what we provide. We don't compromise on our education. Yes, we're trying to adapt it and make it more suitable for the students. But, what we provide is what I believe is the bare bones minimum of what someone should know if they're going to put their hands on a patient. And I know that goes against a lot of people. There's a lot of people who might be practicing and stuff. And don't get me wrong, you can learn through practice, but you need those foundations. You have to have those foundations. I think it's incredibly important because you can't guarantee that if your philosophy is not correct, that your practice is going to be correct. And obviously we're accountable on the day of judgment if we're practicing without knowledge. And, if you can confidently say, and if you're a practitioner already, if you can confidently say, what, I'm 100% certain that, I have the competence and the level of understanding to know. And it only has to be, 1 in 1,000 where there's a problem that happens. And there has, believe me, there's cases where there have been real consequences and issues. There's actually a case which I was an expert witness on in Leeds Crown Court where a hijama practitioner got sentenced to a 42-month jail sentence as a result of following the protocols. Because I spoke with the brother myself directly. He followed the protocols of the institute or the organization as they call themselves, that taught him. And that same organization, rather than being in the court case and being by his side and trying to help him, that same organization, during the court case, rather than being involved in supporting their student, they were advertising and promoting their next workshop, one-day workshop. So this is how ruthless it is. And there's also, and I mentioned in the beginning, right early on, when the practice of hijama kind of blew up, I guess, there were people providing these online training programs and these workshops, and subsequently there's been emails and things that have gone out from those same people saying, please sign this document to say that what you do from now on is nothing to do with us. who have trained you. And we have a completely opposite approach. You speak to any of our students, any of our members, we have a completely opposite approach where we are there. We call it the ICAHT family. Anyone who's studied with us, we work together on not just making sure that you are doing well clinically, but even in terms of your practice. We want the practice of hijama to be a sustainable thing and something which lasts long beyond ourselves. We're trying to create a profession as it is. But I don't know, Mohammed, maybe you can give us insight on what you believe or what you feel about. Hopefully he's going to be in line with what I say.
Yeah, no. You see what it is? This is why, I represent ICAHT, because I haven't been at ICAHT for very long, but I very much understand and value and see the quality of education and the kind of practitioners. At the end of the day, we want to see hijama flourish. We want to revive the sunnah, but there are legal implications. There are implications when it comes to not trying to kill anybody or cause damage. When it comes to hijama has a time and place. It's a skill set, it's a tool, and it works alongside other measures when it comes to promoting health or preventing or disease, or even helping with managing disease. So hijama has a time and place, and being at ICAHT, I've understood that, I've covered undergraduate medical sciences, physiology, biochemistry, pathophysiology, etc., microbiology, and the level of education, even when I'm going through the lecture materials, because there are video lectures, and there are also kind of slides and contents and that's taken from research and stuff. So we're also reading the theory as well. And what we have to understand as practitioners, or just as people in general, it's not about getting that certificate, it's on the wall, I'm good now. It's further reading, further learning, perfecting your craft, trying to get better, learn deeper aspects of what you're doing, and trying to become a master at it. So, with the ICAHT course, alhamdulillah, it's just, and it's obviously I am an ICAHT practitioner, but I wasn't a long time ago. And the reason why I wanted to be part of ICAHT was of the level of education and detail that they were kind of the philosophy behind it. So being there now, I can see it, because I can see it from a student's point of view. I can also see it from a practitioner's point of view. So there are times where I'm going through lecture materials, or I'm listening to Dr Rizwan speaking through the video lectures, and I'm going to ask him, I'll finish a lecture, I'm going to go and elaborate on what he was saying and try and understand it deeper, because I'm blessed to have him by my side.
But even though because we have the online platform, our students have full access via WhatsApp.
Exactly, I was just about to say that. Students are. It's not. You don't have to be part of work in the ICAHT clinic or ICAHT clinics to have that level of engagement with Dr Rizwan. He's very open with the students. He's always trying to help the students, and he's liaising with his current students who run clinics and are very successful practitioners.
What has your process been in terms of the actual? Because I haven't asked you this since you started. Obviously.
Well, you waited for a good time, haven't you?
Yeah. What has your experience been? Because obviously you've gone from working in nutrition, and being now in clinic and being a clinician, and obviously studying, and and obviously you've worked with students who are coming in and doing the internship. You've seen that whole process, and also you are experiencing it yourself.
Yes.
But what has that been like? Because I try and explain people over the phone when I'm talking to people, and obviously we try and elaborate that through the websites and things like that. But I don't know, give your experience on what you think that.
There's so much power and value in being able to shadow. And if you're asking the right questions, and you fully want to engage in the knowledge that you've immersed yourself in through the education, when you come into the clinical internship, you're not working with textbooks anymore. You're working with real people with real health issues, with complex defects in their mindset, their health. They've got family issues, they've got financial issues. So it's all well and good, taking a course, and even if there were courses out there that were offering, the physiology and the anatomy and stuff like that, you can go and learn physiology and anatomy online today. You can pick up a textbook, but education's evolved kind of more than just picking up a textbook nowadays. But to actually come into a clinic and see up to 40 people a day, females, males, elderly, young fitness people, athletes, people who want to help kind of relieve sickness, people who want to optimize their performance, and how we apply hijama to that context in a holistic point of view, whilst taking into consideration their needs, their goals, their history. It's kind of putting the education in one place and then working with real people and seeing the power we can offer as practitioners through hijama as a means. People can come in wanting to study, wanting to get treated for hijama, but they walk away with ample amount of inspiration about bettering themselves. So as a student, you get to learn from that. So you can see patients and you can go from room to room to room and see how people are reacting, and males and females are reacting, and how life-changing the education you've partaken into can be. And people walk away thinking, and I've seen students cry when they leave, and it's like they want to stay because they've developed relationships with patients, because they come, and then some patients we see them twice a week, some of them we see them kind of on a weekly basis. So you see a patient and you can see how much change, benefit they've had. And it's just, every case is different, every patient is different, and you can't get that from, you can spend 50 hours in the clinic and see 200-300 people, so that's kind of, that's valuable for me, I think.
And I don't want to take away from those practitioners who are out there, because a lot of people are doing hijama with good intentions,
right?
And they're out there, and many of these, alhamdulillah, they approach us, and a lot of these people have actually come through and they've started studying our program while they're in practice, and there's no issue with them doing that.
Right.
But like anything, if you're doing a day workshop, if you're, in the Quran Allah said, "Fas'alu ahla dhikri in kuntum la ta'lamun." If you don't have knowledge, then go to those people who know.
Right.
So in terms of, we pride ourselves in saying that, look, be founded in knowledge first. Okay?
Yeah.
So when you learn, again, if you're going to go learn, even you're going to study knowledge of the deen and so forth, you need to know who your teacher is. You need to know, okay, who are they and are they qualified to teach me? In many of these cases, you'll find that the people who are teaching are not even qualified themselves to practice. Realistically, if you look at it from what have you studied and where have you, so some of our teachers are non-Muslims. Like, for example, we have an osteopath that teaches, we have and Dr. Mike, and he teaches the anatomy and these aspects of it, and he teaches anatomy at a university level. Dr. Nuruddin, he teaches undergrad medical students in Cardiff University. So again, and myself obviously being one of the tutors, I teach chiropractic techniques and CPD for professionals. So we're all, Islam or no Islam, whether we're looking at it from a secular or religious perspective, we have the qualifications and the background to be able to teach this stuff to students to then go and apply. Whereas if you look at many people who have studied, often they've studied from a brother who knows how to do hijama and they're passing it on. But, you see the thing is, we often lose our common sense when it comes to deen, because you wouldn't apply that same principle to anything. Right. Even if you said, look, I want to open a barber shop, and we're going to have barbers working in the barber shop. The first thing you're going to ask, okay, well, where have you studied and how have you learned? Well, even at that level,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Even at that level, before you trust someone with your hair, take your whole body. So this is,
there has to be a certain standard in kind of anything that we do, right? Regardless of whether it's health related or whichever profession it is, there has to be a certain standard. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to kind of realize.
Exactly. And that's what we're aiming to do. Like, I come from a background where my teachers were involved in the formation of the regulation of the practice of chiropractic medicine. And they're the ones who have advised me on this. And alhamdulillah, we have a regulatory structure for our practitioners. We're working with kind of the appropriate organizations and bodies and official bodies in the UK, and alhamdulillah, we have that respect from them in the sense that they brought us forward to be a part of that. Whereas when you're not doing things properly, you're not going to have that kind of you're not going to have that platform, basically. So alhamdulillah, we really pride ourselves in what we do, and as you can see, we're extremely passionate about it, and we believe in the standard, and that's what we're trying to do. I'm not here to shoot anyone else down. We want to encourage everyone to come on board and say, look, let's all elevate our standard to this minimum level at least, and let's move forward, because it's in unity that we're going to be able to achieve things and operate, not in disunity and shooting each other down and saying, you know what, he shouldn't be practicing and this person. It shouldn't be like that.
Sure. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for blessing us with your presence. Thank you so much for talking to us kind of about the ICAHT clinic, about your guys' courses specifically. I think Sam would agree with me in saying that, but he clearly does, because he practices it himself in regards to his businesses, in that one general kind of lesson we can take from this episode is that we have to set a kind of a standard as to kind of in whatever we're doing. There has to be kind of like a high level of standard, and adding to that, we should be high achievers. We could talk for so long about kind of the course and hijama, and there's so many things that we haven't even been able to discuss in terms of. Was there something that you wanted to add?
So just in terms of what we were discussing, if anyone wants to find out more,
sure,
then you can have a look at our website. We try and kind of explain as much as we can on there, but you're more than welcome to give us a call to discuss your own situation. But our website is ICAHT, which is ICAHT.info. If you're looking to find out about our training, and if you're someone who's just looking to find an ICAHT certified practitioner to make sure that you have kind of a set standard, then the website is ICAHT, again, ICAHT.co.uk. So ICAHT.info or ICAHT.co.uk.
Amazing. Social media as well?
Yes, we're on social media. We've got a account which is for our clinic, which is ICAHT_clinic, which is ICAHT_clinic. Or you can maybe just search Dr Rizwan. We've got a YouTube channel as well where, alhamdulillah, we've managed it's just skyrocketed recently, I think, after the interest. But we had we've got a YouTube video with just hit, I think, just under 6 million views now, alhamdulillah.
Wow.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, where we're doing a demonstration of hijama, which was back in 2013. But yeah, only recently it's gone up. So the interest is definitely increasing, and it's definitely a kind of a growing market, I guess. Yeah, just as an additional note, basically, I know earlier I mentioned that I mentioned the 3 course, the video series. So basically, we've got a free video series that we're keeping available for any of the freshly grounded listeners. So if you are interested in any of the stuff that we're saying and you want to hear more of it, you want to kind of understand it a little bit more, we've got a free 3-part video series, which is like an introduction course to hijama. And I'm really confident that anyone watching that who's either new to hijama or who's already studied hijama, I guarantee that you'll get a lot more from that course, which is a completely free course, than you would from any of the kind of introductory courses or any of the kind of workshops and things.
And how would someone access that?
You just need to go to our teaching website, which is ICAHT.info, so ICAHT.info. And if you click on the hijama diploma, and where it has the overview, if you scroll to the bottom of that, there's an opt-in where you can just put your email address in and your details, and you'll get sent the video series over the following couple of days.
Wow. Definitely benefit of that, brothers and sisters. And Bouaziz, how can brothers and sisters benefit off your products?
So yeah, alhamdulillah, we've just launched a brand called Delete Lifestyle. People can go on the website www.dltlifestyle.com, and what we're trying to do is offer quality-based organic products, handmade products, superfoods, and just trying to nourish people from the outside in. We also offer the coaching services as well with regards to health and nutrition. But yeah, alhamdulillah, I love creating products. So there are some beautiful beauty, cosmetic things for hair, beard, skin, and also superfoods as well.
And you also do the online coaching as well, isn't it?
Yeah, there's the online coaching platform there. Just people, if you know, whether you're fitness based and you want to improve your sporting performance, or you're just kind of lacking energy and you want to improve your energy status and your mood and your digestion, we've got everything to. And the product line is going to continue to grow, inshallah, with people supporting. So yeah, people go check that out. It's dltlifestyle.com. And then the social media is on the website.
dltlifestyle.com. Jazakallah khair, brothers. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence. Thank you for coming onto the podcast. Jazakallah khair for listening. Those of you guys who have listened. Unfortunately, we didn't have time for current events today. But inshallah, next week we'll be back to our regular studio, and we'll make sure we bang out a solid current events. Inshallah. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Thank you so much to the brothers for coming down. Make sure you check out the website, check them out, and always keep a high standard in everything you do. This was episode 50, guys. We've got a YouTube video that is either out now or out very, very soon, to just thank you guys for 50 for our 50th episode and our 500,000 downloads. So jazakallah khair again. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.